Okay, real quick, I'm going to show you how these flags are kind of set up and how they're made and how you can take them apart when I ship them. Okay, when I made them, there's a set screw right there, and then there's a black Delrin sleeve inside here, so you tighten down. You don't tighten on the shaft, you tighten down onto this Delrin sleeve, so it's kind of, you can control how much tension's on it. So it's kind of a slip fit. You can make it a little bit tighter if you want, or you can move it around. You can slide it back and forth. I did that on purpose so you can balance the flags. You can play around with different balances. So I kind of set them up with a streamer on them. I set them up so they're kind of statically neutral. Wind's blowing a little bit, so well, if you're standing in a non-windy area, it's going to kind of hang freely. So both sides of the flag weighs about the same. You can play around with different things. I have found that usually works pretty good and is pretty consistent when it reads. So this pulls right off. It's a tapered pin in there. It's threaded on the end. For some reason or another, you ever didn't have a gap in there for some reason and you wanted to change the gap, you could use soft jaws or something to tighten on that. You could thread it down a little bit further if you wanted. So the pin here is adjustable if you needed to some degree at least. And the bottom piece threads off. It's a standard 1/4-20 thread. So when I ship them to you, it's going to be, of course, it's not going to have the stand with it. So excuse me here a minute. Guess I wasn't very prepared. Okay, so I'm going to tape these two pieces here together, and what I'm doing is I'm taking out these two stainless screws here just so I can bubble wrap the flag separately. When you put it back together, just run them down there. You don't want to squash the tailpiece. Just light pressure on them will hold it, be fine. If you ever need to take the spinner off, this is a stainless steel spinner. You can just unhook it and kind of fish it through the hole there. And this is surveyor's tape. You can get a big roll of it. I think I got all these set at 3 feet. You can play around with different lengths. I would suggest if you change the length, you also set the balance up different. So all these need to be exactly the same. If one's longer than another, I would probably change it because everything's going to be reading different. And there's to change on the streamer, I made that little piece there, but basically I take the surveyor's tape and use double stick tape and slip it through there and tape it to itself. Very simple, works good. I've never had one come loose. So these two pieces here, I'm going to tape them together in the box, and everything's going to be bubble wrapped. Now the propeller here, you can see which direction it goes. The wind blows into it this way. It's going to turn it like this. Don't put it on backwards. And the little caps I use, these are orange. I've also used some little black caps. I usually put a little bit of grease on them so they slip on there. And also, they're going to hold air, so when you put them on, you kind of got to squeeze the cap to push the air out of it. Or else you're just pushing the air and it wants to pop back off again. And what I was looking for is something really, I was looking for something really simple that will always work. You never have to mess with. These are actually off an aircraft cable. I've also used the little black caps are 1/4-inch vacuum line fittings from the auto parts store. So you take this off. There's little Delron or nylon washers on here to give this something to smoothly rotate apart. And this here is actually 3 separate parts. The propeller, I cut the propellers out myself. I got a pattern for them. So when you get it, I'll put your shaft back together like this. So just take it off, one washer on each side, slip the propeller on the correct way, slip the little washer over it, and like I say, if you just push it on there like that, it's going to have air in it. It's going to have a tendency to want to push back off. So just squeeze it a little bit and put it on there. Just make sure it's on there. You don't want it really tight. And there you go. It should be back on there, and you should be really happy with it. Just let me know what you think. I want to make sure you're happy with it. And these pieces here are all handmade from Delrin. I actually had one of these flags outside this year doing, I call it an endurance test. I stuck it out in November. It sat out in my yard in Kentucky for 4 months. I never touched it. It was in the weather. Never did one thing to it. And when I brought it in, it still looked perfect. It looked brand new. There's nothing on here that will rust. I use stainless hardware, stainless spinners. Of course, this is a brass rod, carbon fiber shaft. These things are pretty durable. I figured if it was out here for 4 months, it'll last most people a couple lifetimes. But I appreciate it. There you go.